Baylor versus Kansas State this weekend. It's not just a game, it's a marker for where this team is this time of the year. Culture, grits, brisket, fans everywhere. That's what we're talking about today. And today, I've got my guy who's been the voice of Central Texas for darn near a decade, Nick Canizales, the long-time sports director at KCEN. He covered Baylor athletics, Friday Night Lights. He covered some of the best athletes to ever come out this state. He wasn't just reading and creating highlights. He was living them, creating stories, flying all over the country, bringing the moments back home. Nick's the journalist who had the pulse of Baylor football long before the fans even knew about it. He told the stories. He's been on the sidelines. He's watched the games change right here in Waco. Nick, it's an honor to have you on.
My man, it's always good to see you. What you're doing is unbelievable. And man, I'll tell you what, like I told you and everybody else, those 8 years in Central Texas, the greatest years of my life, especially my career, and seeing some of the athletes and then the high schools, Baylor and everybody else, UMHB, Temple College, MCC. It was absolutely just almost a dream.
Yeah. And you were there during the time we were talking a little bit before this. You were talking about, and we'll get into this a little bit later, but you were talking about some of your favorite moments. You were talking about RG3. I mean, do you just sometimes look and look back at your career here and kind of pinch yourself?
Yeah, well, now, you know, when you're in the moment, you don't really realize of what's going on because you're just working constantly and you're flying all over the place and covering, you know, one game and cover another sport and covering these really high profile athletes. And then all of a sudden, you know, years go by and I sit back and, you know, it's really, I don't really think about it until somebody brings it up or somebody says, or I'll see a player on TV right now, NFL, like Quentin Johnston. He scored a touchdown today. And I was like, oh man, I covered him at Temple High School and he went to Texas. We covered him. And I said, it's crazy that all these years go by and, you know, you still have those relationships with those players.
Yeah, got to ask you this. I know you've seen more Friday Night Lights than Whataburger's seen taquitos, man. Who is your favorite athlete from your time here?
Oh my gosh. You know, the coolest thing, man, that's tough to say. Listen, so I was able to see a lot of great athletes, you know, like we talked about Quentin Johnston. You had Andrew Billings from Waco High, who ended up going to Baylor and NFL with the Bengals, the Browns, Cameron Yo's, the late Trayon Smith, who was absolutely just nasty. Oh gosh, he was, you know, back-to-back state championships. He went to 4. I still say if he didn't get hurt in that 4th state championship and blew his knee out, they would have won again. D.D. Westbrook, you know, he was a high profiler at Cameron Yo, ended up going to Oklahoma, set some records, first round pick of the Jags. Rashad Paul, Mr. Texas football from Bremond, went to A&M. And then a guy who I thought was everything and instrumental in Mart's success was Denarian Thomas. He was a quarterback. I thought he was one of the best athletes I've ever seen. Ended up going to UMHB and helped Mart win a couple of state titles. So those are some of the local players. I know I've missed a lot of them, but those are some of the ones.
Hey, Nick, you're going to get some text messages after this.
I know. They're going to go, hey, man, remember me? What about this? What about that? But no, those guys were, I mean, absolute studs. And then to watch them in college and see what they did and then end up going to the NFL and producing was quite an achievement.
Got to ask you this too. Is there a moment that you covered yourself, you know, a moment that really gave you goosebumps?
Oh gosh. Well, I mean, I think the biggest thing, the one thing that stands out was the Baylor Lady Bears winning the 2019 national championship. That was the absolute pinnacle because you always dream about, man, covering a Super Bowl or a national championship, but to have your team that you're covering win the whole thing. And that was in Tampa.
Florida. Right there. It was beautiful, wasn't it?
Hey, listen, that was absolutely stunning. And then for Baylor to beat Notre Dame in the last seconds with Jackson coming in and hitting that layup, that was absolutely incredible. You know, and they lost Lauren Cox in that game.
In that game,
due to a knee injury. She went out. Kalani Brown stepped up and all the girls, you know, that's what made them into champions because they all stepped up. They all had a role to play. and they did it. So that was literally that was a highlight of pretty much my career. And then we went to the White House a couple of weeks later. So, but
man, what was that like, man?
House.
So many Americans, look at the White House, see it on TV. You were there in that moment.
Listen, like I told people, look, regardless of your political stance, whatever, I don't care. Go into the White House, and being in the room with the sitting president and the sitting vice president was absolutely crazy. The crazy thing was, so we were supposed to go into, I think, the yellow room, to have a press conference and everything else. Well, then it kind of switched up. They said, hey, listen, President Trump was the president at the time. So he said, listen, he wants to have everything in the Oval Office. And we were like, oh, wow, that's awesome. Like, well, how often does he do this? He said, never. He never does this.
Wow. So
then we all went so we had to go down because, when you look at the White House and look at the door, that's actually like the second floor.
Yeah, right.
There is, you go down, and we had to go down to like these stairs and go all over the White House, and basically took a mini tour within like about 10 minutes.
That's crazy.
And then went through the Rose Garden, and then just kind of sat there and waited on him to open the door to kind of lead us into the Oval Office. And then it was like, holy cow, there's a president. Vice President Pence was there. Secret Service was everywhere. And that was the only thing on the docket that day was Lady Bears visiting President Trump and everything else. But the whole experience, absolutely incredible. I mean, one of the greatest experiences of my life.
Yeah, I have to ask you this because that was a big moment too. I remember, I have to tell you, this is totally related to it. So I was ahead of social media at the time. I ended up riding with the students. They put together like 2 coach buses of students who left like 24 hours over, before the game.
Yeah.
So I live streamed and blogs and created content the whole way there. We get there like hours before the game. We ended up showering in like a hotel that some donor had like rented us some rooms, and we went to the game and headed back. And man, I got to tell you, riding with the students, and then Kim, I think, ended up acknowledging them in her presser, said, man, I heard there's some students that rode all night long.
Yeah.
And so just created different content. That was so fun. I remember when they cut down the nets, man, probably, one of the moments of at least my time at Baylor that I really enjoyed.
I mean, because we saw, I don't know how many countless Big 12 championships. And that's one thing, but that's expected though in Baylor. That, Baylor is expected to win your conference championship. Yeah. That's a given. But to go down and cut the nets to win the national title, that's another thing. And they got so close. I don't know how many Elite Eights was back to back. And I thought that when Nina Davis
too.
Oh gosh, I remember
we had to Baylor had to go on staff at the time, was working for Kim, and we had to go. Notre Dame was number 3 at the time and play them in South Bend.
Yeah, I remember there. It was cold. It was snowing. It was Elite Eight. It was, I think, Nina Davis's freshman year.
Yeah. That was the year. That was the year. Of course, my most fun memory from that was when you and I were talking about this. It was the year after Brittany Griner had left. And then I remember we had some calls. There was some tough calls. I mean, it looked like what we're seeing with the WNBA this last week with some of the really, really, just pushing people over on blocks. I mean, really why? I mean, on when they're blocking players out. And so I remember we had lost the game. And I remember we were in there. It was myself, Nick, and Ian. And Nick turns to Kim and said, hey, Kim, we're out of money. We don't need any fines today. And Kim was like, nah, I'm good. We didn't win this one. So that was right before we go. She went out and did her presser.
And still that Griner senior year, they played Louisville.
Yeah.
Show me Schimmel, I think just kind of ripped them apart. I think Louisville hit 16 threes. And I always said, at that time, because, Baylor hadn't lost in forever. They were undefeated national champions the year before, unanimous number 1.
Yep.
And I always said, hey, if you're going to beat Baylor, you're going to have to hit about 15 to 20 threes because, Griner inside, their inside dominance was just ridiculous. And, of course, they call that late foul on Griner on the block.
Tough.
And then a charging call that was super late. And I know Kim was going berserk, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
Rightfully so. And, and that was, the start of, okay, well, maybe next year. And then Odyssey Sims, I think she was what led the nation or number 2 in the nation in scoring. She was going off. And I remember them playing a doubleheader at AT&T Stadium.
Yeah.
And she went off as well. I think on Kentucky, scored over 40.
Yeah. Because remember, there was a game at Floyd Casey right after that, I believe.
Yeah.
Like the next morning.
The next morning. So it was, man, I'll tell you what, those years were absolutely incredible. You're right, though. I mean, like that Notre Dame game, they got to the Elite Eight. I forgot how many years in a row until they finally got over the hump, because Kim had some tremendous teams. And,
and it's, so funny. I remember Kim saying, how many times does a top 4 team lose on their own floor in history? Right. And this is after the game. And she's right. I looked it up, and me and Jerry Hill at the time were trying to figure out it's very tough to beat a top end team, a top 4 team. And then they did a whiteout game. Right. So this is before the current form. They did a whiteout game to figure out who's going to go to the Final Four. Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
That's wild. And again, then you had Nina Davis's, Hall of Fame career pretty much. Odyssey. She was phenomenal. Kalani Brown, Lauren Cox. They finally got over that hump, and it was amazing. It was just an amazing experience to see. Because like I told people, man, I've never been to a women's college basketball game where they were outdrawing the men.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like the men were like scrubs. I mean, Scott had his team. I mean, literally, they were top 25, top 10. I mean, they had some bona fide studs. But the women were bringing in 8, 9, 10,000, and I was like, "Gosh, man, this is incredible."
Yeah, got to ask you this: who is your Mount Rushmore for Baylor athletics? And don't you dare put RG3 on there 4 times.
Oh my God! Okay, so I'll tell you this. So I'll break it up into 2 things. Okay. So I'll break it up into 2 Mount Rushmore. So what I was able to witness in 8 years, I would have to say Bryce Petty.
Okay.
I would have to say Shock Linwood. Corey Coleman and Jalen Petrie.
Okay.
Jalen Petrie, I think, won, Defensive Player of the Year, Big 12, All-American. But 2, though, when that whole scandal went down, he was the only recruit that stayed.
Yeah.
And we were talking beforehand, Coach Browse, that I still say to this day, he put together the greatest recruiting class in the history of that Baylor football program.
Yep.
And I thought that if nothing would have went down, and if they were able to that team was assembled and played those couple of years with that amount of talent, they were bona fide national championships. Yeah. I mean, they would have won themselves a national title. And I'm not even joking. Like that team that he assembled was absolutely incredible.
Had Stidham and just, oh my God.
Oh gosh. I remember Cam Martin came here. He was from Port Arthur. He ended up going to Auburn. Yeah, they just had a bunch of studs.
They really did. Some studs and a lot of speed.
That ended up going to several Big 12 schools, SEC schools, and it was very it was heartbreaking to see all that go down. But like I said, I still say to this day, man, if that team that he assembled stayed together and nothing happened, then they would have won themselves a national championship. Okay. I mean, because they came in, I think, number 4. Yeah. As they got as high as 4 in the nation, I think the year before or something like that. Or, I mean, they were rolling, back-to-back Big 12 titles. That was something that Baylor's never achieved.
Right. I got to ask you this too. A lot of fans don't know about this. You and I, we covered so many games together, so many baseball games, football games, but I got to ask you about media food, something a lot of fans don't know about. What was the media food like at McLean, and what were some of your favorite meals?
All right, let's go back here. So during the press conferences, Rudy's Barbecue would cater. Yeah. So they would always, but at one time they had lunch for a while, and then we started doing breakfast. I think when I don't know if it was Grove or Matt Rule got there, it kind of got switched around a little bit.
I think it was when Coach Rule got there.
And so, but like for lunch, man, they would always have. Oh gosh, what did they have?
It was brisket.
It'd be a brisket. They had like some chipped beef,
and
chipped beef burgers, corn. Dude, cream corn was
cream
amazing.
Corn goes hard.
So then the dessert. So it was always my favorite was dirt cookie. The Oreo pudding.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
And they had some peach cobbler, which I didn't like, so I always give it to somebody else.
Yeah.
And then they had, what else did they have? But I mean, they had stacks and stacks of those little hot barbecue packets, which was spicy or mild. And then of course you had the unlimited sweet tea. So that was during the
And did we
pressers
have
during the week.
wait, was there sausage sometimes?
Oh yeah, there was sausage too. Yeah, they had sausage.
Because that was the thing, man. I used to make sandwiches out of it. Oh man, those
Oh
were
my
good. And
gosh.
that was before they moved them. Remember, they were in
Yeah.
the main athletic building and like the XTO room.
Yeah, and then that was in the XTO. And then they built that brand new facility, and
The
so we had it.
nutritional.
Yeah, and that's super nice. So the bank was on the second floor.
Yeah,
and so we ate really good. So then you go to McLean Stadium, they had salad, chicken, your vegetables, and then they had dessert. Then you had what was the frozen custard place?
Oh, is it Katie's?
Katie's Frozen Custard.
Katie's Frozen. Oh, I forgot. Dude, you're taking me back, man. I forgot about
Frozen
that.
Custard was so good. I mean,
hey, do you remember you had to be Usain Bolt getting to it because if you waited, it would just disappear.
Out. You know, because you had the media there, you had
just like the event staff.
Yeah, event staff. Then you had some of the donors or whatever that would kind of walk around.
Yeah.
But I mean, as soon as they would open that buffet, it was a free for all. You had to hurry up, get all that. Like before for us, we would always have two people there. Say with me, and then my weekend anchor or my number 3 person. So we would eat, and then one of us would have to hurry up and go down to the field to get all the pregame introductions and all that stuff. So, and then, if it was one of us that stayed up in the press box to do social media and everything else and write articles, well, that was much easier. But yeah, you had to be there. The food was excellent, like always. And dude, it was just a good time. It was, and then you just sit there and just kind of shot the bull with everybody. And, and then, you go down, do your live shots or your pre-recorded, we call it look lives on TV, but you know how it is.
Tell people what those are, because some people don't know what look lives.
So what look lives is basically you just pre-record your stuff and then you send it in, so it looks like it's live, but it's actually pre-taped. And so I would run that. People would either run that at 10 o'clock,
which is not that uncommon.
No. And you see that in a lot of the national,
they do it all the time.
Yeah, but you have to make sure. So say like, if we're recording like today, we can record a look live now when it's daylight, and you can do it for the 5 and 6 o'clock shows, but you can't do it at 10 because you're pitching to your reporter and it's daylight, which is unless you're on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
But yeah, so those were the fun days, man. I cannot beat those the good food out there at McLean Stadium.
I got to ask you this. You covered so many of these pressers. Thinking about Baylor, what's some of the funniest or the weirdest sideline or media room moments that you had?
Oh, gosh. I'm trying to think of, man, the sidelines, I know at Texas, when Baylor played at Texas, you had Matthew McConaughey. Like, I used to love going to Texas because it was like, oh man, the stars are going to be there. Matthew McConaughey. You had Vince Young, Roger Clemens. Who else? We see Julia Morales for the Astros reported there all the time. But dude, it was like the stars. Who's who. Yeah. And that was like, and of course, McConaughey was the biggest star, and then he had his suite out there. But we would see ESPN Game Day when they would come in, the Game Day crews. Those were pretty neat, because then you would go in for the pressers. They would have it during the week and talk to Desmond Howard and Kirk Herbstreit and all those other, Lee Corso, and that was really, really cool of kind of talking and kind of picking their brain. I remember Tom Rinaldi came in. He did a piece on Coach Bennett. Beforehand.
I remember that about his wife.
Oh yeah, and that was a phenomenal piece. And I love Tom Rinaldi. I think his work is absolutely incredible. I think he's one of the best storytellers in the world. Yeah. And so I got to sit there and chat with him after the press conference. I just say, hey, look, man, I love your work. You tell stories like no other. And they were very fascinating. They tug at the heartstrings, very emotional, and it just I guess respect for your fellow colleagues. Yeah. Because they put in the work as, the same thing as you. And so it's good to see, other colleagues succeed and stuff.
And some characters in this business. I mean, I remember just some of the jokes, just the camaraderie, because you see people 2, 3, 4 times a week, depending on what your role is in the media. Yeah. And I love the banter. I always feel like there's a Twitter account I used to follow, and it's something like the news van, and basically it's like like the banter that you hear in the newsroom, like the account just tells stories, and I love it because it reminds me of those moments that we had.
Oh my gosh. Well, look, of course, all the TV stations, radio stations, newspapers, we're all competitors. But at the end of the day, we spend so much time together on a daily basis. We go on the road together. We eat together, have fun together. And so it's always good because, a lot of us are not even from Central Texas.
Right.
A lot of us are from other states, other towns. And so when you go in, you really don't know anybody.
Yeah.
And then you start going to these press conferences. That's how I met you, was going to these press conferences and Baylor events. And then you start talking, and then we see each other on the road. We go hang out, and then you start forming a bond that's pretty much there for a lifetime.
Oh, yeah. And then you have some real ones. I always think, too, just a guy I really love that we lost, John Werner.
Yeah,
man. But
John was such a great guy, and he was such a very good storyteller, always super nice. And the thing I will always remember about John Warner was at any type of presser, he was always the first one to say, John Warner, Waco Trib, Coach.
It's like the way, it was his cadence that you love.
John Warner, Waco Trib, Coach, and then, then Dave Campbell, Mr. Dave, God love him. I mean,
the legend,
the legend, the icon, and what used to just, I was always amazed whenever we would sit there and talk, and he would say, I said, oh yeah, kind of talk about his fondest memories. Oh yeah, well, I remember back in 1951, this Baylor played this, and they had this play, and I'm like, and the dude was like over 90 at the time.
Yeah, and his memory. Remember how razor sharp his memory?
And I have a video. Oh yeah, I still have a video. This was, I think it might have been Jim Grove.
Okay.
And it was late one night. I don't know if it was Grove or Briles, but I remember one night. It was during, Baylor had a press conference late. I think it was on a Sunday night because of the bowl, all the bowl stuff.
Oh, that's right. Bowling.
And he was the last one to go and stood up and just said, how appreciative he was of coach and the players. And so, dude, Mr. Day was, it was one thing to know about him, about, the magazine and everything else, but it was another thing to get to know him and sit down on a personal level. And all of us, it was very.
I remember when we would speak with him at Floyd Casey. Do you remember that old press room that they had there? And he would just spend so much time. Do you remember that?
Oh gosh! And Floyd Casey, my fondest memory of Floyd Casey was obviously that last game against Texas, winning the Big 12 championship. But just how cold it was. It was so cold out there. I remember me and Pierre Nugent. He was my sports director at the time, and we went out there and literally froze our tails off.
Oh my God.
But it was because the amount of people that were on the field, and I remember Eddie Lackey.
Yeah.
And
shout out to Eddie Lackey.
Eddie Lackey, he was a stud too, linebacker, and him and Bryce Petty raising that Big 12 championship trophy, and that was amazing. And then of course the next year, which the Big 12 called it a tie, the Big 12, whatever.
The weirdest rules in the history of sports.
51-58, after they beat TCU on the tiebreaker, which is still mind-boggling anyway. But,
you remember those press conferences too, like Coach Briles? Remember he had the best quotes about that.
Dude, Briles used to have, we called them Brileisms, and he would and I still say them today. He's like, hey, you can't buy experience. You gotta live it. You gotta smell it. You gotta breathe it. You gotta feel it. Look, I love Coach Briles.
He just had a way about him too. His cadence, his confidence.
I remember we sat down with him to talk about his book, and like I tell people, look, man, I can only go off of how people treated me.
Yeah, for sure.
Art Briles treated me very, very well.
Yeah, same.
Jim Grove, Matt Rule, Dave Aranda, and with Coach Aranda coming in, and I didn't really get to. I think I spent throughout the whole summer, and then. A couple of months during the season, because I left in October of 2020 during the pandemic. But I said, Coach Aranda, very quiet, very low key. About Briles and Matt Rule were very intense. Yeah. And of course, and then Jim Grove, he was we were talking about, he just kind of like your grandpa, man.
Yeah.
Chill.
He was like an OG. He's a cool guy, grandfather,
cool dude,
stable. I feel like he was a guy who steadied the ship.
Yeah, and I remember talking with him after the press conference at the Cactus Bowl. This is like, this is like probably a couple days before the game, and we talked afterwards and just said, "Hey, man, I appreciate everything you did for us, and especially for the media, always available." And he was a good dude. I kind of felt sorry. I felt sorry for him at times because he took a lot of bullets.
Yeah.
Because the whole scandal was going on. There was
Yep.
a lot of drama going on within the program, and but you kind of feel bad for him because I mean he is a human being, and
Yeah.
he took a lot of grief on social media, as did a lot of us on the media too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but at the end of the day though, it's like I said, Baylor and covering all them, the greatest experience of my career, definitely. And it's my career is going on 23 years, about to be 24, which I spent half my life in TV, and people always see Baylor, all the time, and like, man, I love those dudes, love those coaches, players, all that stuff. So they're Baylor, again, national championship right here. There always will be near and dear to my heart.
I got to ask you, if you're back on the desk at KCEN, coming in this weekend, K-State, Baylor, what stories are you leading with?
Well, first of all, Sawyer Robinson, phenomenal game against Oklahoma State, which it was Jeff Gundy. It was Mike Gundy's,
the first time
without Mike Gundy.
Yeah.
And so you're like, okay, well then, Oklahoma State is not good. But I'm like, well, maybe the people are going to fire them up.
What did you think about that first half? They put up like over 300 yards first half, and then come back though, different second half.
Yeah. Sawyer, 393 yards and 4 touchdowns, leads the nation in passing.
Yeah.
Also passing yards and touchdowns. The big thing for me is with Sawyer is he does not turn the ball over. Only 3 interceptions the whole season.
Yeah.
That was a big thing. I love Bryson Washington in the backfield. I mean, that dude is a playmaker.
Yeah.
I think the one key is the defense.
Yeah.
I think they have to stop the run. They did a whole lot better job of stopping the run. They were slightly better against Oklahoma State than they were against Arizona State, but that's the key. If they can stop the run, this offense is so powerful enough that they will win some ball games. Yeah. But I think that's the key. Kansas State, they beat UCF at home. Yeah. Avery Johnson threw a pair of touchdowns. Yeah. The running back was a Dylan Edwards, ran for 166 and a score. But their thing is their defense gave up a lot of explosive plays. I think that's where Baylor has the edge, where they can exploit that and make some big explosive plays. And that way they can race out to an early lead.
What do you think about Johnson, Avery? He can throw it, he can run it. He ran for almost 80 yards.
Yeah, I mean he is lethal. You're going to have a spy, on him. Linebackers going to have to spy on him the whole way. And the good thing is it is at home. We're always, you always got to give give at least 3 points to the home team. I know that Baylor's favored by 5.5, which I think they can win by at least 7.
11 a.m. kick.
Yeah, it's a morning game, which it's you got to get used to. Some of these games, you have a night game, 11 a game, 2:30 kick. I know that it kind of maybe throws your routine off a little bit on a Saturday morning because you have to get up earlier and everything else.
Super early for walkthroughs.
But dude, Baylor's going to be ready. Like I said, I think Sawyer Robinson is one of the best quarterbacks in the nation. His numbers back that up. If the defense can and force some turnovers, if they can force some turnovers, get an interception, force a fumble, and again, stop the run, dude, there's no reason why they can't walk out of there with a win.
Got to ask you about this as well. Who do you think is the X factor for this game?
I would probably think, I think Washington, because we know that what Sawyer Roberts going to do with his arm, but I think Washington, maybe I'll go back, maybe the offensive line, controlling the line of scrimmage in the trenches. If they can wear down that the front four of Kansas State, then Baylor's ability to run the football and just play ground and pound, and then that's going to set up the pass. So, I mean, we already know what Sawyer is going to do with his arm, but if Baylor can just sit there and pound the rock and wear that the front four out, then it'll be a whole lot easier to pass the ball and go play action. But I'm going to say the X factor is the O-line.
Okay. I'm going to actually go with the defense. I think the defense, is going to be the X factor in this game. Kleiman, man, he's very methodical. That offense, they're very methodical. They're very well run. They're very efficient. So I think the win is going to probably come down to the defense and probably the line stepping up. So that's going to be that's my X factor.
And they need it. They need to pressure the quarterback and then they get a couple of sacks. If they can do that and flip the field, they'll be fine.
All right. And so talking about this, I have to ask you about this as well. Your prediction, no hedging.
Oh, for this one?
Yeah.
We'll say 31-26 Baylor.
Ooh, okay. You guys heard it here. Your phone's probably going to be blowing up after the game, especially when
we'll say 31-26 Baylor.
All right. Got to ask you about tailgating. Of course, tailgating relatively new for Baylor. I'm talking about over the history of things, right? You think about some of the programs like LSU, but it's really, really coming on. The tailgating environment at McLean, they built it. I mean, it's kind of like an RV park, really, at the end of the day. And it's on the banks of the river. I know you didn't get a lot of time, but if you were coming to a game and you're coming back, we got to get you back, by the way. What's your first plate of food? Well,
first of all, you got to go do some sailgating out there.
Okay,
that is the best thing known to man out there. First plate of food, man. Well, if you're out there around the right next to the stadium. Well,
by the marina.
Is Buzzard Billy still there, or are they under another name?
It's renamed. Someone purchased it. I think it's the Baylor Landing. I can't remember. I'll look it up while we're talking. Well, listen, but it's still, that restaurant is still there.
So you have that restaurant, but then I would say if you're new in town, coming to go tailgate, first of all, you got to stop by George's. George's is iconic.
Yeah.
You have to go get yourself a chicken fried chicken. You got to go get yourself a Big O.
Yep.
And then bring all that to the tailgating.
Yep.
You have VTEX barbecue.
Yep.
Get yourself a gut pack.
Get a gut pack.
And go share it with everybody else.
And Brazos Landing, that's the name. That's the new name. And then they have that big outdoor area.
Yeah. And, and then everything across the street. I mean, the tailgating is just crazy. Like I said, I just got back from Mississippi State visiting my daughter. And
what was that like? Talk to me about the tailgating.
Dude, the tailgating was, I've been to LSU and during their 2003 national championship season in Baton Rouge, and the tailgating was wild. This tailgating was, every square inch was packed with just tents and people everywhere. And this was a 3:15 kickoff against Northern Illinois. And people were there from like 10 in the morning. And I've never seen so many people, and it was hot.
How long did they stay after the game?
Oh gosh,
people stay a long
probably
time.
A couple hours. And the big thing is they have those cowbells.
Yeah.
And the cowbells, dude, it's so loud. And so my daughter was like, here's a cowbell. And you have cowbell etiquette. And so we had to do all that stuff. But it was also good to see former Baylor quarterback. I was just talking about him yesterday. He's a starting quarterback in Mississippi State. Blake Shapen. Blake Shapen was out there. Got to see him. Jeff Levy, was at Baylor, so he's a head coach at Mississippi State.
Yeah. What's that like? He was, I think he was a run games coordinator.
Yeah.
When you were here.
And so yesterday, that tough loss against Tennessee in overtime.
That was
daughter
tough.
was out there. They said it was electric, but that tailgating was wild. But McLean is, like I said, it's unique as far as I can say. Like I said, the tailgating, and everybody is just, year after year, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah. And obviously you wanted just to have just a big event. It's almost like a giant party, Saturday party throughout the whole day. Some place I want to go. I've been to Washington. I went up there. I was with track for a long time. I go up there. Remember Trayvon Bromell and all those guys. Dude, Trayvon Bromell, the greatest track star I've ever seen.
Yeah.
When I was there at Baylor, that dude was in the Olympics, and dude, the fastest guy I've ever seen run. And I'm like, this dude, just man, he was incredible.
So after we went to Nationals, I went up to UW. It wasn't a game day, but I went there. I want to go to Tennessee for their tailgating. And then the one that I want to see now, tell me what you think, the new Northwestern Stadium. I don't know if you've seen it. It's right there. Oh my God, it looks amazing. I was like, I'm going to put together a bucket list. What's your bucket list of places? If you had to give 4, your Mount Rushmore of places, I know you've already been to a bunch, so you could either talk about places you've been or want to go.
Well, for football, the number one on my bucket list is Notre Dame.
Notre Dame.
Even though we went and we even took a tour out there when we were there for the Elite Eight, Sweet 16 with Baylor. We took a tour of the football, but I want to go see football at Notre Dame. I would love to go to, Penn State and their whiteouts. Yeah. I think that would be wild. Yeah. The Swamp in Florida.
Yep.
Gosh.
Ooh, yes, those are good ones.
I don't know. Clemson comes to mind. But I like the atmosphere, the Horseshoe, Ohio State.
Yeah. I went there for my recruiting visit.
Been there, the Kyle Field, which is, that place is loud and electric. But yeah, some of the, Georgia at Bama.
Oof.
But then also, like I said, I would love to going back to Notre Dame, going there and to see a game in the snow, so cold. I don't want frostbite or anything, but to just the history of Notre Dame. You got touchdown Jesus in the back, and that whole thing. It went to the grotto. I guess the whole aurora of Notre Dame, that's what fascinates me. But that is my bucket list.
You of course remember Robbie Roberts, longtime. Shout out to Robbie. Longtime Baylor photographer. Well, he ends up calling the Notre Dame photographer in his same role, and they have a great picture of me, him. Do you remember Kellen Coleman?
Dude, Kellen Coleman.
And we took a picture, and he took us up to the library, and it's like the perfect place to see the stadium. And then we ended up taking these photos where we do Touchdown Jesus underneath Touchdown Jesus. Robbie took it. So, of course, the photographer for Notre Dame took it. That's probably my most iconic football moment that I remember.
Oh, that was my first live shot when I got there.
Really?
And, so I went out there and had to do a live shot for 5:00, and I'm like, I'm doing it in front of Touchdown Jesus, because everybody knows, that's like the famous landmark. And oh my gosh, I was a kid in a candy store, literally. I mean,
it's a great place.
It was such an amazing experience, and that's what people don't realize. When you're in the media, and then especially when you at Baylor, when you're working for these universities, man, you just feel like you have that's all you do is work, and but you experience so much crazy stuff, but also it's time consuming. It's you're away from your family a lot, away from your kids. My son's birthday's in March, so I can't tell you how many birthdays I missed during March Madness. And it's time you don't get back. But then I tell the kids, hey, look, Dad doesn't work. You can't have the nice things that you want or anything else like that. But
and your son is a senior. Hard to believe. I've seen him over the years just grow, and just now he's a grown man.
It's crazy. It's crazy how fast these kids grow. Like I said, we got a freshman in college, a senior, eighth grader. I mean, but like I said, thankfully for FaceTime, that was a huge key. But then also, what the cool thing is, the kids could come along for the ride as well, because sometimes they were off of school, so I would text the coaches, hey, can they come to the presser with me? Or I would drag them to football pressers or basketball pressers, and they all they had the time of their life, holding the microphone, and they were like, man, I didn't realize how you had to do this the whole time. I said, yeah. I mean, your arm gets tired, but I think
sometimes I remember Coach Rule, who was a great speaker. He's probably one of the best coaches I've covered. And I remember sometimes it would just be burning right here, and it would take a long time. Nick, this. For someone who's carried a mic, for our arms to get tired, that's a long interview.
I mean, it is, and I appreciate all the coaches that were always so grateful to all of us that they know that we have families and kids, and we have to make sacrifices. I'm like, oh, bring them in, and I don't think, at the time, I don't think they knew how big that was.
Yeah.
Looking back, it's like, oh man, because I would tell Kate, like, oh yeah, hey, that guy in the NFL, you were there holding the microphone and talking with him. Yeah. Oh, this person, like, oh, I didn't realize that. They don't realize the cool things that some of their friends don't get to do or never experience, and so that's pretty cool.
Okay, have to talk to you. Got a rapid fire questions for you. Okay. Ready? Rapid fire.
Let's go. I'm ready.
All right. Barbecue, Frito pie, or brisket?
Brisket.
All right. RG3 or Johnny Manziel?
RG3.
Tailgate nachos.
But Johnny Manziel, was, that whole that 1 year, his Heisman year was wild.
I mean, that made him a cultural icon.
Oh my gosh.
He's on a podcast now. His stories, he still tells some of the best stories. I love hearing his stories.
With both of them, it's always a what if, or what could have been. If Robert would have blown his knee, and then if Johnny would have just,
been Johnny.
Yeah, not been Johnny football, and would have been Johnny Manziel.
Well, even if Robert would have gotten drafted by a different team, there's a lot of conversation swirling about how they handled injuries at the Washington, the Redskins at the time when he was there. I think they were the Redskins. Yeah,
they were Redskins.
The Redskins at the time, and not dipping into that. But there's a lot of things that you look at his career and you wonder what could have been.
Oh my God, because he came on, explosive career. His rookie season was incredible. I remember him he tore Dallas to pieces on, I think, Thanksgiving. And he was just so fast, had a great arm. And it's always like, man, what could have been? What could have been?
All right, last one. Coach Rule post-game presser or Friday Night Light marathon?
Oh, God. Dude, probably Coach Rule post-game presser. Dude, like I said, he was always he also had some quotes himself.
Yeah.
Like I said, Bryles had a lot of quotes, but Matt Rule had a lot of post-game stuff. But then he would sit there and shoot the bull with you the whole time. And
do you remember one time we were there? It was spring football. It was literally 92 degrees. I remember this. And on the turf, we were out there at McLean Stadium, and he ended up ordering ice cream truck for the media.
Yeah.
And those are the kind of things people don't remember. And everybody was just so shocked because when he came, remember, it was me, you, Jerry Hill. It was the whole crew from the Trib and everybody else in town. And people were like, wait, is this for us? Do you remember that?
Guy from KWTX, HXXV. I think Fox 44 was actually, I think they were created at the time. Dude, that's stuff that people don't realize that coaches do behind the scenes. I remember one time I went to a presser and Scott Drew was like, hey, man, you need a shirt? And I'm like, heck yeah, I'll take a Lamar. Not Lamar. That's what I'll cover here. I'll take a Baylor basketball shirt. And I still wear that to today. And I'm like, man, they were always so gracious and always so easy to work with, and that's like, people are like, man, was Kim Mulkey, how intense was she? I said,
very.
She is a Louisiana girl, thick and thin and just very easy kill. She's a winner. That's why she's a Hall of Famer. I always said, I wish if my daughter played basketball and was going to college, I would want her to play for Kim because she's passionate. She cares. Yeah. She not only cares about you getting better on the court, but cares about you getting better as a human being and going to class and being productive in society and being a good mother and everything else and a good wife and about the person. But like all those coaches, man, all those coaches are great. I would have my kids play for any one of them, still today.
So what's one thing about covering Baylor football as a member of the media that most fans probably don't recognize?
Covering Baylor football?
Yeah.
Man, that's a difficult question. I guess how so?
You were saying what?
I was saying how that fans don't man. I don't know.
I'll give mine. Do you want to think for a second?
I'm
going to give it. When I was director of new media at KWTX, I would say that most people don't realize that your local media in Texas is covering Friday night football, right? And most people know it, but not intellectually. And that's a long day. And when we were at KWTX, we had everybody who could shoot out shooting, right? And remember, even some people who had maybe gone into different careers and professions would come back and shoot. And then that show would go, you get out of there, I get out of there around midnight. I don't know what time you got out. And then you coming back, especially like the Kansas State Baylor game is an 11 kick. So that's a quick turn.
So, and so you're right. So that's, those late nights, people don't realize the amount of hours you work, especially Friday and Saturday night. So say like, for instance, like you mentioned, this K-State game, we would get done probably about, I think at 6, we were done probably between midnight and 1 a.m.
Yeah.
By the time you get home, shower, wind down, it's about 2:30. You have to be there at the game at least 2 hours ahead of, in advance, probably 2.5, because we need to put a spot in the press conference room, our tripod. And then because you always have to get the best, the first one's there, you get the best spot in the press conference room. You need to go get your credential. You got to go eat, and then that's when you go down on the field. And but then again, if they were away, well then by the time you might not even sleep, to be honest, Friday night and Saturday, because you had to get on a plane at 6 a.m. out of DFW or Austin.
And didn't you guys drive to like some of the like Oklahoma games, Oklahoma State?
I remember me and Matt Roberts at Fox 44. We met. It was a 2:30 kick. I forgot where we met off the highway, and this is after a long Friday Night Lights. I mean, I think we went to bed at 2 a.m. and then we got up I think at 5, and then made that. I think it was like a 5.5 hour drive to Norman, and it was at that time it was easy. Because, you're like, okay, you're running on adrenaline and stuff. It's a 2:30 kick. That was when Jalen Hurts was playing. He was a quarterback over there, and they beat up on Baylor pretty good. Yeah. And so then, you get done, you do post game, and then the game, because Baylor games lasted 4 hours. I don't know, I forgot how often they do, because Baylor games lasted 4 hours every time because of the amount of passion they did, and just 100
plays.
Dude, it was a long day. So then by the time we get back, I mean, it'd be like 1 a.m, but you were like dragging, like you're on the phone with each other or on the phone with somebody, driving all the way back into town. And those are some long days. Like we put in some long hours. And then like I have friends of mine that always say, oh man, you're going out to this city or this city. And we'd go to Oklahoma City or like I said, Tampa or wherever across the US. And they're like, oh, it must be fun. I said, dude, in the plane, you're sitting there typing up scripts. Yeah. And then once you jump off the plane, dude, it's go time. I remember when Baylor men was playing at Madison Square Garden in New York. I remember practice was like at, I think 11 a.m. I got in at about 8 a.m. Dude, it took 2 hours just to even drive, literally 20 minutes.
Were you in an Uber?
From LaGuardia. Huh? Yeah.
Were you in like Uli?
Yeah, I was in an Uber. It took 20 minutes just to get from LaGuardia to like MSG. And then, dude, you're like running in there, having to hurry up. And then, you film, you can only film a certain amount of practice.
Time, yeah.
And then, you sit there and just kind of like, you go back in the press conference room, you type your script up, you start cutting your video, and then you wait for the post game, like not post game, but you wait for the press conference afterwards. And you talk with Scott Drew and some of the players, and then you put together your stories throughout the entire day. And I mean, dude, you were running and gunning. Like you had no time. Like at nighttime, if you got everything done, if you didn't have to go live at 10 o'clock, well, then you could explore the city the whole time. But like for me, sometimes I didn't take a TVU backpack or anything to go live. So my thing was all pre-recorded, which was fine because I could pre-record stuff at 7:30, 8 o'clock when it got dark, and then send it back. And dude, I have all night to kind of play around. We go to Times Square, we go eat dinner, and just go explore the city. So,
man, oh man. Times. All right, so real quick, I know you're back on air, part-time. Talk to me about that, and how are you doing that in balancing this great family that you have?
Listen, my luckily the wife is. I have a really good support system. I mean, she is phenomenal. I kind of run through everything with her. I'm like, hey, because I have a full-time job. Yep. And then I work for ESPN Plus part-time. I've been off and on for about 10 years. And then I work for the local ABC affiliate doing Friday Night Football. And then also here recently anchoring twice a week because their sports director is his wife is actually having a baby. So he'll be on paternity leave for a bit. And so I said, listen, I have this opportunity. I need to fill in. They want me to help, and she's like, hey, if you enjoy it, might as well go do it. Yeah. And so I usually work pretty much 7 days a week. Like yesterday, Saturday was a long day. I had volleyball. I had a broadcast in the morning. We had football for Lamar University at night. And then so I'm off like 2 days this week, but also I have soccer. I got football, and then I have to anchor again. Dude, those are some long hours. Man, you're the
hardest working man in show business.
Look, man, at the end of the day, I can sit around and mope and say, I need to get some money or I need to find money somewhere. But look, it's not going to grow on trees. So I got to go out there and hustle and get it done. We got Christmas around the corner. Yeah. Of course, the kids, their Christmas list is about 3 miles long. and they want everything under the sun, and nothing's cheap. You can't
No.
go. You can't go to Five Below and pick up stuff there or anything else. I mean, it's expensive, but listen. But at the end of the day, I enjoy it. I enjoy the camaraderie in the newsroom, because that's the best thing. I mean, the newsroom has so many stories, and that's where you get to laugh and cut up and all the behind the scenes stuff is with those people that they see you on TV with. Like, well, how's this person? I'm like, dude, they're great. Everybody in the newsroom is great. And that's one thing I do miss. And I get to enjoy it for a couple of months before all that ends. But yeah, man, it's been fun. I enjoy it really, really good. I appreciate the opportunity that my job, my full-time job, allows me to go ahead and do that. But everything is at nighttime anyway. So
yeah. What's so funny though, Nick? It reminds me of, like, I think in the final episode it was Andy Bernard in The Office, one of the shows I absolutely loved. It's just an iconic one. And he said, "I wish there was a way to know when you're in the good old days before you actually left them."
Yeah.
Right. That's what I feel like you're describing. And it's like, man, it was fun times. And that's why it's so great to connect with you, because
it is,
like you said, that we have these memories.
I mean, because you're living in the moment, and then you don't realize until after it's all done. You're like, oh my gosh, man, what a ride! And thankfully, I still communicate with everybody, all the guys and my coworkers from KCEN. We still talk to each other every week. Either
shout
call
out to
or
social
via,
media too. Social media makes it so much.
Oh my gosh, Facebook has been great. I get to see everybody's kids grow up and what they're doing, and with all my old coworkers in sports, where they're at, and most of them are still in the business. Others, they got out, but it's great. It's great to see, and like I said, great to catch up with you and seeing what you're doing and all the great stuff. It's awesome.
Like we were talking beforehand, it's like this has just been a great experience to talk to former colleagues and athletes, friends of the program, and connect and just have fun. As you know, I have a NIL show that I do, Brand and Athlete, and it's like I always tell athletes to just create content around your actual passions, the things that you're actually doing. So I had this, and I was like, man, I got to call my guy Nick, and I even remember some of our the baseball, because there's so many baseball games, right? Baylor baseball. And I used to, man, in the press room, man, in the media room, man, we would have such a good time,
Baylor baseball. Well, that's another thing you're talking about. Pregame meals. Baylor baseball and Baylor softball would have Chick-fil-A all the time. They would have Chick-fil-A, the chicken sandwiches. And they would have either fries or fruit cups.
I remember that now.
So I'm sitting there, dude, and there's times, listen, and we don't eat a lot throughout the day, but there's times I would shove like 2 or 3 sandwiches in my camera bag, and then throw some fries in there, and then like if they had the drink, I would throw a couple of drinks in there, because I had a mini fridge back at the office. And so I would just bring stuff to my coworker. Here, are you hungry? Eat this, and dude. I mean, but hey, Baylor had like really some really good food. Those are some good memories, and I'm glad that you called, because man, it stirs up some good memories, and then you kind of think, oh my gosh, I remember this, remember that, and this athlete, and man, but I'm telling you,
you were here during one of the greatest runs. Of course, it's still going, and man, it's just so great to connect with you, man. And we'll have to have you back on, because remember we used to shoot the Monday pressers.
Oh yeah, we did.
And so we're doing this today. It's kind of like I remember I used to love the Mondays. That was like, I think for any sort of a content creator or journalist, that's like Christmas, like that Monday presser.
The Monday presser is always great, and then the thing is, that's where you started the work week. It's like, okay, you got that Monday presser, and then, hey, it's go time, because that sets the stage for everything leading up to Saturday. You have your Friday night football, but, going to talking Baylor, everything leads up to Saturday. And whether you have little side angles and everything else, and because there's a lot of questions. I mean, those press conferences last, 25, 30, 35 minutes.
Oh, absolutely.
And you have
then the one-on-ones after that with the athletes.
Ones, and so I mean, you're there for at least an hour, because you're talking with the head coach for such a long time, and then you have the one-on-ones with the different athletes, and dude, most time you have so much content, you can't even. There was a lot of stuff we couldn't use because, man, we just didn't have time.
Yeah. Man, Nick, you got to come back, man. I'm gonna do another one of these. You coming back?
Heck yeah, I'm coming back. I'm telling you what, man, what you're doing right now is is amazing. It's eye opening, but also it's great insight for those who kind of want to see background of people. And you talk about your NIL show. It's very interesting, because NIL is running rampant right now. Talking to the coaches here, like at Lamar University, they're a mid-major. They're D1 in all the sports except football. They're an FCS school. And, they lost, especially in baseball. They have won over 40 games for 2 straight years, won a conference title, and they've lost all their ace pitchers and player of the year, hitters and stuff to Big 12 schools or SEC schools because, if you're good and you have that one great year, well, shoot, somebody's going to offer you some money and then you're taking off to another school.
Yeah, the running joke, if you mention a kid in a press conference, he's gonna be called for NIL and transfer portal.
Oh yeah, I mean, so it's NIL's running rampant right now. Yeah. It's positive and negative, but that's just what it is now. And these players, I think for a long time they should have got paid. Yep. Because we would go to for Baylor, go to inside the team store. You see Bryce Petty jerseys, Seth Russell jerseys, Nick Florence jerseys. Corey Coleman, all those guys, Sean Oakman, and it's like nobody's making a dime off of them. Now they are,
right?
Which is good. They should get paid because they're playing their hearts out there.
Man, Nick, thanks for coming through, dropping your knowledge. Good luck this week. Hardest worker man in show business. You have shows locally. You've got ESPN Plus. You've also got your family and your full-time job, man. Good luck this week.
Hey, man, love you, brother. Appreciate you. Keep up the great work, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, guys. All right, from Whataburger to McLean Stadium, Nick's seen it all. Catch us live at the Bear Stream and 9 a.m. before the kick. Baylor versus K-State. Let's get it.